Welcome to Deep Signals. Today, we're going to do something a little different. We're taking a journey right to the heart of our solar system to really understand the star that makes all life here possible, the sun.
It's something we just see every day up in the sky, but I have a feeling there is so much more going on than we realize. I'm excited to get into it.
I mean, it's a feeling we all know, right? You're just waking up and you feel that gentle warmth on your skin.
It's so easy to just take that for granted, but when you stop and think, that feeling is a direct link to a gigantic fiery furnace that's 93 million miles away. It's kind of mind-blowing.
Exactly. So that's the big question, isn't it? We see it all the time, but what is it really? How does it even work? What is it actually made of?
Well, to even begin to wrap our heads around it, let's just start with its size. The sun is so enormous that you could fit more than 1 million planets the size of our Earth inside of it.
Wow. Okay, that's a number so big I can't really even picture it in my head. 1 million Earths.
For most of human history, people just assumed the sun was, well, perfect. A flawless, unchanging sphere of light. But that whole idea got turned upside down once we started looking closer, thanks to a revolutionary new tool, the telescope.
So, when astronomers like Galileo first pointed their telescopes up at the sun, what did they see that was so shocking? They saw imperfections, dark patches that we now call sunspots. And this was a huge discovery, because it proved the sun's surface wasn't perfect. These spots are actually cooler areas caused by the sun's magnetic fields getting all tangled up, which kind of blocks some of the heat from rising to the surface. And as scientists kept tracking these spots over the years, they noticed something else incredible, a pattern. The number of sunspots goes up and down in a regular 11-year cycle.
So this was a complete game changer. It meant the sun wasn't just some static ball of fire in the sky. It was dynamic. It was active. It had seasons, in a way.
Okay, seeing its activity from a distance makes sense. But that brings up another big question. We've obviously never been to the sun, so how in the world do we know what it's made of?
It's an amazing trick, actually, and it all comes down to its light. We use a technique called spectroscopy. If you take sunlight and split it into a rainbow, like with a prism, you'll see these tiny dark lines mixed in with the colors, and each of those lines is like a unique chemical fingerprint left behind by a specific element.
And what that fingerprint told us was fascinating. The sun is made almost entirely of the two simplest and lightest elements in the whole universe.
So it's about 75% hydrogen and 24% helium. So simple, but somehow so incredibly powerful.
So, knowing what it's made of was one major piece of the puzzle. The next question was, how could those simple ingredients produce that much energy?
And to answer that, we have to take a journey deep, deep inside the solar engine itself.
But how can hydrogen and helium possibly create all that light and heat? It just doesn't seem like enough. It happens through a process that's almost unimaginably powerful. It's called nuclear fusion. Deep in the sun's core, the pressure is so intense that it literally crushes hydrogen atoms together to form helium. And when that happens, a tiny amount of matter is converted into a huge amount of energy.
So a really good way to think about it is that the sun is basically a giant, self-powered nuclear power plant, constantly converting its fuel, hydrogen, into all the energy that lights up our solar system.
Okay, so this energy is created down in the core, but how does it actually get out? Oh, it's an incredibly long and difficult journey. It begins in the core, where a particle of light, a photon, is created. Then it spends thousands of years just bouncing around randomly through a super dense layer called the radiative zone.
And that part alone can take thousands and thousands of years.
Exactly. After that, it finally reaches the convective zone, where it gets carried upward by these huge swirling currents of hot gas, kind of like bubbles in a boiling pot. Only then does it finally break free from the surface.
So it really helps to think of it like this. The sun is structured in layers, almost like a giant onion. And that energy has to pass through every single layer before it can finally shine out and reach us.
Now, all that energy bubbling up doesn't just produce a nice, steady glow. The sun is a very active and sometimes very stormy place.
And its influence, its weather, reaches far beyond the sun itself, across the entire solar system.
This space weather comes in a few different forms. You have solar flares, which are like these sudden, intense flashes of light. Then you have coronal mass ejections, or CMEs, which are massive eruptions that actually hurl giant clouds of solar material out into space. And then you have the solar wind, which is a constant stream of particles flowing outward from the sun all the time.
That's a great way to put it. The solar wind is like a steady, invisible river that's always flowing through space, carrying the sun's influence all the way to Earth and even further. We've learned so much, from what it's made of to how it works. It feels like we have a pretty good handle on things. Have we basically solved all of the sun's secrets by now?
Oh, not even close. There are still some huge puzzles left. Maybe the biggest one is called the coronal heating problem. So the sun's visible surface is about 10,000 degrees Fahrenheit, but its outer atmosphere, the corona, is millions of degrees hotter.
Wait, that makes no sense. It's like walking away from a campfire and somehow feeling it get hotter? Scientists really don't know why that is?
So as we wrap things up, let's just go over the key ideas. First, at its heart, the sun is a giant power plant, creating all of its energy through nuclear fusion. And that energy has to travel outwards through its very complex structure, which we can picture as being like the layers of an onion.
And finally, the sun is constantly sending its influence out across the solar system through the solar wind, a steady river through space that affects every planet, including ours.
So we end right where we began. That simple, warm light on your face is the very end of an ancient, incredible journey from the heart of a star. The next time you feel the warmth of a sunrise, what are you going to think about? The million Earths that could fit inside? The journey of light that might have taken thousands of years? Or the mysteries that we're still trying to solve?